is to see more active action out of the NHL and the other leagues, because one of the things that has disappointed me with the NHL over the last several years, not just in terms of the LGBTQ community, but in terms of racial justice and other things, has just been how reactive that they've been, but also it almost seems like an afterthought. It's not even that they're reacting, it's more of an, oh, by the way, we should maybe say something. And then what it turns out that they end up saying doesn't really help anything move forward. So my name's Allison. I am a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, even though I'm wearing a Colorado Avalanche jersey, because I do also like the Avs. And I'm back in Colorado. I'm originally from Colorado. I'm currently a PhD student. Hopefully we'll be done in a year. And I've been a hockey fan basically for the last 25 years or so. Pretty much since the Avalanche came to Denver. I started watching hockey with my dad back then, and now I'm a Penguins fan, but it works.
I was gonna say, how did that happen? I was like 25 years ago. Okay, like that makes sense. But then Penguins?
Well, I do have family in Western Pennsylvania, and I used to spend a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and I did a year of college in Pittsburgh. Actually, the same year, the same season that Yager got traded, I started watching the Penguins just because I was in Pittsburgh, and then stayed following them through college and really became a fan basically when Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin showed up. So that's when it shifted from being the team it was most convenient to watch to being the team I enjoy watching.
Fair.
And I still the Avs and the Stars.
So you kind of answered this a little bit, but how did you get into hockey? How did Allison get into hockey?
A lot of it was just because my dad had watched it. My dad had also been a football fan, so I grew up with the Denver Broncos playing a lot. But when my parents divorced, and I lived with my dad after the divorce, and so I was exposed more to hockey. And I want to say the Avs' first season was the same season that we were back in Maryland, and so my very first hockey game I went to with him, and it was when the Avs played the Capitals. And basically since then, since seeing the game live, it was more than just the thing that was on the TV that my dad was watching, and it was fun. So,
I love that. And what do you love about hockey?
the speed, and also the fact that the arenas are cold. But I think it's a fun game to watch. I really like it for the speed. I think honestly that's part of it, and it's not just that the games go by faster, but it just seems more fun when you've got people running around on shoes with knives and hitting stuff. I don't know. I always really liked watching the physicality of it. And I have a memory of, the Avs when I was in high school were really well known for the power play, and I thought that was just a really cool thing to do in a game. And it was just, I don't know, it was fun to watch, and it was easy to understand. And now I have a lot of fun introducing my friends to it. I've converted several of my friends into being hockey fans in the last few years. So.
Good, we need more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Based off your intersection of identities, how could hockey be better for you? And also, how could it be better for the queer community as a whole?
One of the things that would be, I think, really good is to see more active action out of the NHL and the other leagues, because one of the things that has disappointed me with the NHL over the last several years, not just in terms of the LGBTQ community, but in terms of racial justice and other things, has just been how reactive that they've been, but also it almost seems like an afterthought. It's not even that they're reacting, it's more of an, oh, by the way, we should maybe say something. And then what it turns out that they end up saying doesn't really help anything move forward. And I feel like I've been fairly lucky in the games that I've been able to go to, and that, being in Detroit so much, showing up wearing my Penguins jersey whenever the Penguins come to town. Like I haven't felt the antagonism that I feel like was there in professional hockey among the fans several, or when I was a kid and even years before that. But I don't know that I necessarily would feel comfortable walking into a rink with, a rainbow jersey or the rainbow pin or anything that clearly identifies me, just because of, maybe it's just the stereotype of who sports fans are, but there's this perception of there's one type of person that a sports fan, especially in the US, should be. And that's predominantly white, male, conservative. And it just feels like the NHL isn't really doing anything to, or anything significant to push like hockey fans past that. I mean, yeah, there's Pride Month, but that doesn't really do anything, and from my view. And it would be, I think, much more helpful to have people in leadership positions, not just managers, who are actively supportive and allies, but to see players and teams as a whole do more. One of the things that I've been really happy with Brian Burke coming to the Penguins has been very visible, and open about his perspective on things. And I think that's been really good. It would be nice to see that from other teams on a bigger scale, and also from the NHL as well, because it feels like they're just doing what they do because it's expected that they do something, but it doesn't really feel particularly serious.
I couldn't agree more. And, hopefully someday it
Yeah.
evolves. But knowing where it's at and knowing where that culture is, what keeps you in the sport?
Some of it is just the enjoyment of watching the game, as much as, yeah, I can't necessarily separate myself from my identity. Sometimes you just want the escape of watching a game. And that's kind of what it is. And it's what makes it hard when players or teams or people involved in the sport turn out to, like things on social media or say things that continue putting some distance between particular groups of fans and the sport that we enjoy watching. And it's hard to separate that. And so on the one hand, sometimes it's nice when there's nothing being said, because at least they're not saying anything bad. But on the other hand, it would be helpful to not see something be posted or hear about a player or a coach or somebody who said something and just think, really, we're back to this, and there's still nothing coming out of the NHL from about any of this. And so it's hard. Yeah, it is sometimes hard to balance that, deciding whether or not to continue following the sport that I really enjoy watching, when the league or the team or a player lets you down. So I'm sorry, that probably doesn't really answer the question.
No, it does. And I get it. It's that time and space to just turn everything off.
Mhm.
And even though it's hard to, but it's almost like part of self-care, just to have some time to decompress and not always be on. So I completely get it. What gives you hope for queer people in the
A lot of it is seeing players actually come out and not just put the tape on their sticks for a game or wear a specific jersey, but actually come out and be active as allies. And that's everything from constantly tweeting supportive comments or calling people out to, taking the cup to a pride parade or anything like that. And it's helpful to see that from players who are allies, because it makes me feel more comfortable about, well, if that player is comfortable being an ally with the locker room, then maybe a queer player in the locker room might be more comfortable in that space. I think having prominent people in the locker room who are vocal about it does give me hope. And it counters some of the, or quite a bit of the negativity that is often perceived as being there. So
For sure, I completely agree. Allison, is there anything else you'd like to add?
just that as a fan, I think it's good to remember that the fan base of hockey, fan base of any particular team is not this monolithic stereotype of a white straight man. Women love the sport. The LGBTQ community has a lot of fans of hockey, and we're here too. And it's nice to get the recognition that we do, but it would be nice if there was more and more acceptance, so that when the NHL says the hockey is for everyone, hockey is actually for everyone, and it's more than just words.
So well said. Allison, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.